Introduction to Mathematical Applications. Leonardo Fibonacci was an Italian mathematician born in the 12th century. He is known to have discovered the Fibonacci sequence of numbers. The Fibonacci number sequence is a set of numbers after 0 and 1 where each successive number is the sum of the two previous numbers. Therefore, 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. 5 plus 8 is 13. 8 plus 13 is 21. 13 plus 21 is 34. 21 plus 34 equals 55. And as you can see, it goes on and on to infinity. Fibonacci numbers also appear when counting Elliott waves. Waves 1 and 2 equals 2 waves. Now you are beginning to see the repetitive nature of the waves that Elliott first described when he looked at the stock market as a fractal. The complete 8-wave cycle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, is really 2 waves of a larger degree. We can look at it another way as well. Looking at this sequence as waves 1 and 2, we can say that waves of any degree in any series always subdivide into waves of a lesser degree. Specifically, waves 1 and 2 of the daily chart will subdivide into waves of a lesser degree, which can be seen on the hourly chart. It is important to mention that Elliott observed in his work that patterns in the market are repetitive in form, but not necessarily in time or amplitude. This brings up a good point, which is that there are 3 important aspects of wave theory: pattern or form, ratio, and time. Pattern refers to this wave sequence completing a cycle in any time frame and is considered the most important element of the 3 in wave analysis. However, we will look very closely at ratio analysis and introduce time analysis as well. To summarize, we have subdivided the 8-wave cycle into its subwaves to get 21 waves for the impulse sequence and 13 waves for the corrective sequence. Adding them together gives 34 waves. If we were to break the waves into further subwaves, we would get 89 waves for the impulse sequence and 55 waves for the corrective sequence, which add up to 144 waves. A special value related to the Fibonacci numbers is called the golden section. Also called the divine proportion, the golden section is regarded as the reason for aesthetically pleasing, harmonious proportions in nature, architecture, art, and music. In the nautilus seashell, each section subdivides in area to one of the percentages of the golden ratio. In a sunflower, seeds grow in a pattern in distance of the golden ratio. Perhaps the most well-known example is the Vitruvian Man by Leonardo da Vinci. Sometimes called the Canon of Proportions, da Vinci's work illustrates how the human body is subdivided into proportionate percentages. In architecture, the most stable and most eye-pleasing structures incorporate golden ratio percentages. The golden section is obtained by taking the ratio of successive terms in the Fibonacci series. For example, the ratio of any number to its next higher number approaches 0.618. For example, 8 divided by 13 equals 0.615. 13 divided by 21 equals 0.619. 21 divided by 34 equals 0.618. 34 divided by 55 also equals 0.618, as does 55 divided by 89 and 89 divided by 144, and so on. If you plot a graph of these values, you'll see that they seem to be approaching a limit. For math enthusiasts, this limit is actually the positive root of a quadratic equation and is called the golden section, golden ratio, or sometimes the golden mean. The golden section is normally denoted by the Greek letter phi. There are also other properties of these numbers which are worth noting. As discussed, 1 over phi is the inverse of 0.618, which is 1.618. 1 over phi, or 1.618, is also calculated by taking the ratio of any number to its next lower number. For example, 34 divided by 21 equals 1.619. 55 divided by 34 equals 1.618. And 89 divided by 55 equals 1.618. The higher the numbers go, the closer the ratio is to 1.618. Now take the ratio of alternate numbers going forwards and backwards. The ratios of alternate numbers going forwards approach 0.382, or its inverse 2.618. For example, 144 divided by 55 equals 2.618, and 55 divided by 144 equals 0.382. Here's another example. 34 divided by 89 equals 0.382, and 89 divided by 34 equals 2.618. Take note of these numbers because in the next two modules we will use these ratios in targeting impulsive and corrective sequences. Finally, take the ratio of every third number going forwards and backwards. For example, 89 divided by 377 is 0.236, and 233 divided by 55 equals 4.236. Again, all these percentages will come into play when we discuss targeting an impulsive wave or measuring the retracement of a corrective wave. The mathematical application of the golden section on Elliott waves will become apparent in Module 2, Impulsive Patterns, and Module 3, Corrective Patterns. There are three rules of the Elliott wave principle that cannot be broken. The rules that should not be broken are: 1. Wave 2 never retraces more than 100% of wave 1. 2. Wave 3 is never the shortest wave. 3. Wave 4 does not enter into the same price territory as wave 1. If any one of these rules is violated, then the operative wave count is incorrect, and there must be an alternative wave count to follow. Rule number 1. Wave 2 never retraces more than 100% of wave 1. Wave 2 never goes below point 0, the starting point. In other words, if wave 2 goes below point 0, then it is not wave 2. Rule number 2. Wave 3 is never the shortest wave. When wave 3 is the shortest wave, another count may be in order. Rule number 3. Wave 4 does not enter into the same price territory as wave 1. This is also known as overlap. When buying in wave 4, make sure it doesn't go below the top of wave 1. Labeling of waves. Before we look at some examples from the market, we will talk about the naming convention for counting waves. Wave degrees have names and labels. Primary wave degrees, seen on the monthly charts, are noted as follows. Circled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, capital A, B, C. Intermediate wave degrees, found on the weekly charts, are noted as numerals and letters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and A, B, and C in parentheses. Minor wave degrees, found on the daily charts, are noted as numerals and letters without parentheses. Finally, minute wave degrees found on the hourly charts are noted as circled lowercase Roman numerals 1 through 5 and lowercase a, b, and c. The naming convention used is consistent with Eliot's labeling, as he named 9 degrees of waves, which you can see in this chart. Each wave degree subdivides into waves in the smaller degree. Eliot also added degrees as necessary. The numbers label the impulsive waves, and the letters label the corrective waves. The impulsive waves alternate between Roman numerals and Arabic numerals. Labeling below minor degrees is in lowercase Roman numerals. Labeling above primary degrees is in uppercase Roman numerals. The corrective waves are labeled in lowercase for the Roman numerals and in uppercase for the Arabic numerals. The final column in the chart is labeled time frame. Here, we've labeled which wave degree applies to which time frame in the currencies. The weekly charts are the intermediate wave degree, the daily charts are the minor wave degree, the hourlies are the minute wave degree, and the 15-minute is labeled as the minuet degree. It is merely a guide, and there are other conventions. Most important to know is whether we are in a 5 or a 3-wave sequence, than to know exactly how to label the move. Look at a shorter time frame, and suddenly 2 waves turns into 8 waves, and 8 waves on a smaller time frame breaks down into 34 waves. The 34 waves includes the 5-wave sequence, which has 21 waves, and a 3-wave sequence, which has 13 waves. After a 5-wave sequence is complete, it will become a wave of a larger degree, or a wave contributing to a larger wave. The complete movement of waves 1 through 5 will complete a wave 1, 3, or 5 of the next higher wave sequence. For example, wave 1 will appear as a straight line on the daily chart, and when broken down on the hourly chart, will appear as a 5-wave sequence. The complete corrective movement of waves A, B, and C will complete either a wave 2 or a wave 4. For example, the ABC correction can unfold in hourly data, which can be represented by waves 2 or 4 of the daily price data. Now we will look at some market examples to illustrate the basic rhythm of the Eliot wave. The first example is the weekly Euro chart from January to November of 2005. See if you can count the 5-wave impulsive sequence, waves 1 through 5. Start to envision yourself trading those waves once you have mastered all of the tools that will be made available to you in this course. The 5-wave sequence starts at 136.66 and ends at 116.40, taking almost a full year to complete. In this slide, notice the 5-wave sequences followed by 3-wave corrections. We are looking at the daily Euro chart for the same time period as the weekly chart, but we have broken down the 5-wave sequence into its component subwaves. Again, Eliot found that the wave patterns were self-identical in different time frames, as is evident here. Waves 1, 3, and 5 break down into their respective 5 subwaves in the direction of the trend, which is down. Waves 2 and 4 break down into their ABC 3-wave corrective patterns, which correct the trend. 21 waves are evident on this chart, but of course we could further label the subwaves and come up with 89 subwaves. This illustrates how the Fibonacci sequence is evident in the wave patterns or form. Now let's talk about market psychology. Let's suppose that in the news on January 2005, most of the news items were very bullish on the euro. In November 05, the news items were extremely bearish on the euro. That is exactly why the Elliott wave principle works, because of human emotions. People tend to be the most bearish when the press is very negative and the prices have been dropping for a while. They are also very bullish at market tops, looking for further moves up. In other words, people think in herds and go mad in herds. That produces tremendous opportunity in the markets as long as you are not part of the herd at the wrong time. This is the conclusion of the learning objects of Module 1. Please continue on to the quiz.